Bang! Another bullet shot through the night and pierced the concrete floor. The range of a police gun is typically between 50–100 meters. The chubby boy said quickly. They were divided into 3 paths. Li Wen and Teacher Li were with the 2 reserve students who had weaker physical strength. It was enough to protect themselves from a sneak attack. Chen Shanshan was with Jiao Fifei. Tang Mo knew that Chen Shanshan had an ability and that she was stronger than ordinary reserve players. The chubby boy and Tang Mo were responsible for attacking. Why didn't the stowaways make a sound when stepping on the glass? The traps at the entrance also didn't trigger. Tang Mo spoke in a low voice. They tried a sneak attack twice before. The second time they were discovered by you and must have made precautions. They wouldn't repeat the same mistake twice. They should have other ways to enter the school. The 2 men left the gym while sticking close to the wall. Tang Mo narrowed his eyes and carefully scanned the surrounding environment. The dark night was like a silent beast, staring at everyone with bloodthirsty eyes. There were many trees in the school. The wind blew through them and the trees swayed. The shadows of the huge tree shook in the dark night. It was the only sound in the night. Tang Mo looked sideways. Give me a nail, bang. Tang Mo evaded to the left at a very fast speed. But the fast bullet grazed his right arm and embedded in the wall behind him and the chubby boy. The 2 of them looked at each other and split up. This was the strategy Tang Mo and the fat boy came up with in order to find the position of the stowaway gunman. If they encountered the worst situation, the 2 people would separate and not give the opponent a chance to fire. Now it was the worst case situation. It was dark and a gunman was most dangerous when hiding in the dark. Bang bang. Tang Mo held a big wooden stick in his hand and rushed into the school building nearest to the gym at a fast pace. The bullets kept firing, hitting the ground where his heel had previously been. Tang Mo turned to enter the school building, only to pause for a moment first. A bullet flew in front of his eyes and entered a wall. Tang Mo stepped into the school building. But once he entered the building, his hairs pricked up and he reflexively swung the big stick behind him. There was the loud sound of a violent collision behind Tang Mo. The big knife and wooden stick collided together. The wooden stick was cut by the large knife. Tang Mo fell 2 steps back while the opponent also stepped backwards. Your strength is good, hoarse laughter accompanied the sarcastic tone. But you are still going to die. The opponent attacked directly. Tang Mo raised the stick to confront him. The knife and stick constantly collided at a fast speed, causing loud sounds. The knife was longer than Tang Mo's stick. The enemy used the long knife to leave bloody scratches on Tang Mo's shoulder, waist, and elbows. Tang Mo was continuously forced to retreat. The man saw he was gaining the advantage and attacked more violently. Holding such a large knife, it was enough to pose a threat to others, even if it was just swung casually. Not to mention that he was a stowaway and had great strength. Every time he wielded the knife, it caused a wind blade. The long knife didn't hack randomly and Tang Mo's avoidance speed was becoming slower. At this time, the enemy wielded the knife with great momentum towards the left side of Tang Mo's head. Suddenly, Tang Mo bent over awkwardly and the steel knife swept over his head. He used his left hand to stabilize his posture while he swung the stick with his right hand and hit the man's knee. The man let out a groan of pain and the sound of the cracked bone rang out loudly in the darkness. The man staggered to the ground and used the knife to stabilize his body. Tang Mo stood up and wiped the blood from his chin. He saw his enemy for the first time. It was a tall and strong man with a height of at least 188 centimeters. He had strong muscles and a black tiger tattooed on his left arm. The closest building to the gym was this one. The stowaway set up an ambush here and nearly killed Tang Mo. Tang Mo didn't dare take this person lightly. Official players and stowaways could physically recover quickly. Tang Mo's injuries had started to itch, indicating they were scarring over. The man's knee was injured but Tang Mo didn't hesitate to raise the stick. However, he was still 1 step late. The man was able to stand up and raise his knife to meet Tang Mo. The situation changed again. Tang Mo constantly attacked and the man could only defend with the knife. As time passed, the man moved faster and faster. It seemed that his knee injury was almost back to normal. The man yelled as Tang Mo aimed his stick at the man's head. Damn, still hiding. The man suddenly dropped the knife, placed his hands on his hips and faced Tang Mo. His energy sank to his dantian and his eyes were wide. He roared angrily, "Kid, return my grandfather." Tang Mo didn't understand the words but there was a feeling of uneasiness in his heart. Tang Mo abruptly changed the direction in which he swung the wooden stick. Tang Mo hit the wall of the building and used the recoil to shot to the other end of the corridor. Just as he stopped attacking, he saw the muscular man open his mouth in a circle and flames shot out. The next second, monstrous flames filled the area. The man placed his hands on his hips and sprayed out flames. His eyes widened angrily as flames gushed out and he stared at Tang Mo. Tang Mo turned to run. The man's flames were faster than Tang Mo, almost scorching his hair. Tang Mo stooped to escape the flames and the flames burned the wall. The white wall was burned and started to peel off. Tang Mo used his hands and feet to move along the wall and ground to avoid the flames. It was like a fire dragon as the temperature in the air rose. The flames burned the concrete floor, leaving traces of character. Tang Mo's wooden stick had already been turned into charred wood. The flames disappeared and Tang Mo crouched on the ground, panting. The man's spirit was good and his knees were completely recovered. He picked up the big knife he had thrown to the ground and rushed towards Tang Mo again, laughing loudly. Tang Mo was unarmed and could only dodge. The man's actions were crude as he kept swinging the knife. Tang Mo also hadn't learned martial arts. The two of them engaged in a simple fight using the superb physical qualities of an official player and stowaway. Those who see my power will die. The knife descended in front of Tang Mo, who turned sideways and ran away. The man sensed victory and pursued. Bang! Tang Mo ran out of the school building and a bullet was fired at his feet. He seemed to be sweating but his eyes were calm and sharp as he stared at the position of the gunman. The muscled man was chasing behind Tang Mo while the bullets fired at his feet. On 2 occasions, he barely avoided the shooting bullet. By the time the 9th bullet was fired, Tang Mo and the muscular man had run into the gym. Once the 2 people entered, the 6 bodies on the ground entered their view. The muscular man was stunned for a moment before sneering and swinging his knife at Tang Mo. He didn't expect that just as his knife descending, the escaping young man suddenly turned and confronted him. This isn't right. A feeling of danger entered the man's heart. But his body was faster than his consciousness. As his knife aimed straight for Tang Mo, the young man waved his right hand. But there was no weapon in his hand. The muscular man stared and didn't blink once. In an instant, he saw a big match appear in Tang Mo's hand. The steel knife met the huge match. Clang. The big knife broke and the match head slammed into the man's head. There was the crisp sound of the skull breaking and the big man fell to the ground. White brain matter and red blood flowed down. The body was twitching and not completely dead. His eyes stared at Tang Mo and the giant match in his hand. His lips opened like he wanted to talk, but he couldn't say a word. The big man's strong physical fitness meant it was impossible for him to die instantly from Mosaic's match. Tang Mo panted heavily as he looked at the man on the ground. The man didn't speak but Tang Mo knew what he wanted to say. Why did I deliberately pretend to be losing and not use my weapon until now? One reason is to cheat your ability. Chen Shan said that your ability has a 3-minute time limit. It has been exactly 3 minutes and 2 seconds since you activated your ability. Another reason is to prevent you from raising your guard. Tang Mo looked extremely calm as he spoke. The most important reason is that I don't want to kill you. I want to find that person. The man's eyes were wet with blood. The eyelids shivered and he couldn't open his eyes. As soon as Tang Mo finished his sentences, the man twitched violently and reacted strongly. At this moment, a voice was heard from the clock tower not far away from the gym. Oh, how could you? Bang. Once this gunshot was heard, there wasn't another one. Previously, the gunman only appeared once and kept hiding. He should have very weak melee combat ability. If it was an ordinary sneak attack, he would be careful and change positions after a shot. But he wanted to support you while you were chasing after me and didn't have time to change positions. On the clock tower, a chubby boy leaned out the window and shouted excitedly, "He is dead, he is dead." Tang Mo nodded at him and looked at the muscular man fallen on the ground. The man twitched and his body became rigid. In the end, a strangely excited smile appeared on the man's face. The smile stayed until his heart stopped and his body became completely cold. Tang Mo felt something was wrong the moment 2 shrill screams were heard. Teacher Li! Teacher Li! Tang Mo immediately ran out of the gym. On the running track for track and field events, a one-armed man pulled out a knife and shook off the fresh blood. In front of him, Teacher Li fell down after being stabbed in the chest. Blood trickled from Teacher Li's mouth and his heart. Li Wen, who was holding Teacher Li, also had 7 or 8 wounds. Him and 2 reserve students tried hard to stop the bleeding from Teacher Li's heart. However, they couldn't stop the bleeding and their hands were soon covered with blood. The 2 reserve players didn't have any wounds. On the running track, a dozen flowers had emerged. There was no grass on the school's running track. Artificial turf was laid. But now flowers were grown on artificial turf. They hadn't bloomed but looked like ordinary roses. The one-armed man standing in front of the flowers was a short and lean man with a scar on his face. It stretched from the left eye to the corner of the mouth. The scar was ugly and terrifying. He didn't have a right arm and was holding a knife in his left hand. Red blood dribbled down the knife tip. He smiled gloomily as he looked coldly at Tang Mo. They are all dead. Tang Mo held the big man and looked at the other man in a vigilant manner. They are dead. Only you remain. I will be the only one to survive. The short-haired man smiled and pointed at Teacher Li in the pool of blood. Just like he died. Li Wen placed a hand under the teacher's nose to check for breathing and spoke in a stiff voice. He isn't breathing. The 2 reserve students stayed. From a dark corner of the running track, a figure suddenly popped out. I'll kill you. The one-armed man's knife swung. The anger-filled Xiao Fifei hadn't yet responded when Tang Mo reached her side, grabbed the little girl's arm, brought her behind him and hit the knife with a big match. Clang. There was no doubt that the knife would break into 2 fragments again. A light flashed in the one-armed man's eyes. He looked at the big match in Tang Mo's hands. It is so powerful. Xiao Fifei was shocked after being covered by Tang Mo. Chen Shan side and ran out to take Xiao Fifei to Li Wen's side. The chubby Zhao Xiang ran from the clock tower. His face was filled with a happy smile when he entered the field. Then he saw Teacher Li lying in a pool of blood and his smile disappeared. Teacher Li. The man died after all. Tang Mo had long guessed that these people would try a sneak attack. But he had arranged traps in every corner outside the school. As Tang Mo had said earlier, the stowaways didn't step on the glass because they were prepared for it. However, Tang Mo had deliberately left a path. During the day, he and Li Wen rearranged the street lamp glass on the road, deliberately leaving a curved path for walking. If the stowaways were clever enough to think about not stepping on this glass to make a sound, they would follow this path and expose their own position. If they were smarter, they would see Tang Mo's purpose and deliberately not go this way. However, this meant they would be exposed by stepping on the glass. The worst-case scenario was that they didn't step on the glass or go along his planned route. Tang Mo's group was unprepared when the stowaways struck. Fortunately, Tang Mo prepared ahead of time and discussed a strategy with the fat man. Otherwise, the current situation might have been reversed. Tang Mo held the giant match and asked, "How did you enter?" They didn't step on the glass or go along the path. How could they enter the school without triggering a trap? The one-eyed man uttered an unpleasant laugh. Enter? We never left from the beginning. The little fatty was startled. And no way. How could you have never left? You have been in the school the whole time. This school is so big. How could you know where we were hiding? The man's eyes swept over everybody, especially Chen Shan. For the past 2 days, I watched you lay out those useless traps. Originally, I was planning to attack you last night. I didn't expect this boy to suddenly appear and I let you live a day longer. The bad guys had been staying with him the whole time. All the students were horrified. Chen Shan gritted her teeth as she lamented, I didn't think of that. Xiao Fifei shook her head. Don't blame yourself. We never thought that this group of bastards would leave the school and then turn back to hide in our school. It is their fault. The one-armed man listened to Chen Shan and Xiao Fifei's words with a strange light in his eyes. Tang Mo stepped in front of the two girls. He asked, "Your companions are dead. Why aren't you still running? Why should I run? You are the ones who are going to die." The man pointed his knife at Tang Mo. There was only half his knife left, but he had no fear as he looked at Tang Mo. Tang Mo squeezed his hands on the match as his sense of unease in his heart grew stronger. He looked at the dozen flowers and shouted, "Go and destroy these flowers." The one-armed man scoffed. "Dream on." He waved his knife to stop the students who wanted to destroy the flowers. Tang Mo swung his match and the man responded quickly with the broken knife. Suddenly, half of the broken knife was hit by the giant match. A spider web-like crack appeared on the blade. The knife broke into pieces and could no longer be used. "Go and destroy the flowers." Tang Mo shouted loudly again. Apart from the two reserve players holding Teacher Li's body, the other four all rushed towards the flowers. The chubby boy took hold of the rose's roots and forcefully pulled it. Then he shouted, "I can't pull it out. This thing is harder than steel." The fatty was the strongest person among the students and he couldn't destroy the flowers. Then the others would be helpless. Tang Momo finally understood the tension that filled his body. This one-armed man's physique was even stronger than Tang Mo's. He looked small and thin but had strong muscles. These muscles couldn't be developed just because he was a stowaway. Before the earth went online, the man's physical fitness was already better than the average person. This reaction speed was comparable to Tang Mo, but his fighting skills and strength were far better. He might not have a weapon but he kept dodging the big match again and again. "You must use your ability to destroy these flowers." The fatty was sweating as he gave a loud cry and a long nail appeared in front of him. He focused on the nail and aimed it at the rose's roots. Whoosh! The long nail flew through the air and penetrated the root. Metal-like sparks flew the moment the nail collided with the root. "I can do it." The chubby man grasped the timing and kept breaking the root with the nail. The nail was too thin to penetrate the fine roots every time. It took at least 20 stabs and 2 minutes to actually destroy one flower. The little fatty cried out. "I have a gun. This root is almost the same as a steel bar. If you use this gun, you might be able to destroy it. There are at least 8 rounds inside. One flower can be destroyed." The fatty handed the gun to another official player, Xiao Fifei. Xiao Fifei was stunned. It is a gun. Yes, it is a gun. Focus and aim it at this root." Xiao Fifei mustered her courage and prepared to take the gun. But as she was feeling hesitant, a hand had already taken the gun from the chubby boy. The short-haired girl calmly stared at the flower and aimed the muzzle of the gun at the thin root. Chen Chen's hands didn't tremble as she pulled the trigger. Bang! The bullet pierced through the rose's roots and caused a hole. The powerful recoil caused the young girl to take half a step backwards. She didn't wait for the chubby boy to speak again. She raised the gun and fired 2 shots. Xiao Fifei looked around with relief. It is really useful. The 2 reserve students also came to help. The fat boy pieced the flower with his powers while Chen Shan destroyed 2 flowers with the gun. The other 3 students and Li Wen were trying hard to cut the root of the flower with a knife. Under their efforts, they managed to cut it after 10 strikes. Tang Mo used the big match to fight the one-armed man. The 2 people had collided several times on the running track. The one-armed man's right shoulder had already been broken by the big match. An ordinary person wouldn't be able to stand up but he was a stowaway. He kept confronting Tang Mo with a gloomy face. Tang Mo's condition wasn't much better. The man had only arm left but his hand curved to hit Tang Mo's rib. Tang Mo heard a crisp sound as his rib broke. This was true fighting skills. If the other man's hand was still there or if Tang Mo didn't have the big match, Tang Mo wouldn't necessarily win. But the man didn't have his other hand. Tang Mo took advantage of this to find a gap and aimed the match at the man's head. The one-armed man dodged. He knew that he would die if the match hit his head. He didn't hesitate to raise his left arm and block his head. Bang! The man used his left arm to change the direction of Tang Mo's match from hitting his head. A small shadow flew in a parabola and landed on the field. The man looked at Tang Mo with a hideous expression. There was only blood left at his left wrist. His left hand had fallen on the ground not far away. "I will kill you." Tang Mo didn't talk nonsense as he raised the large match. But the man suddenly looked up at the sky and laughed wildly. "You are going to die. You are all going to die. I'm the only one who can survive." Tang Mo followed his gaze. In the vast night sky, the moonlight was dim and there were no stars. A large black cloud was drifting from a distance, blocking most of the moonlight. There was only a small sliver of the moon revealed at the moment. "What is my ability? Do you think they are just ordinary flowers? It isn't. My ability is 100 times stronger than the one who sprays fire or the idiot who has 100 bullets per gun. My flowers have sucked in the essence of moonlight. Just wait for this cloud to completely cover the moonlight. Then my flowers will open." Tang Mo turned to look at the flowers. The fat boy had already destroyed 6 flowers. Chen Shan had destroyed 2 flowers. The others combined their efforts and destroyed 1. There were 3 flowers left. As the dark clouds covered the moon, the outermost petals of the 3 flowers shook slightly. Everyone heard a loud sound as the petals started to bloom. The petals swayed gently in the evening breeze. The more the petals opened, the deeper the purple of the stamen became. "Once my flower is open, you will die. It is poisonous. The poison gas will disperse and only I can live." The one-armed man had lost another hand and had already become insane. His mouth constantly talked about death as his vicious eyes stared at Tang Mo and the others. Tang Mo ignored him and rushed straight to a slower, waving a match. Clang! The rose shook gently and Tang Mo saw that the stem was bent 15 degrees. Even the big match couldn't break it. "You are all going to die, ha ha ha." The dark clouds covered the moon as Tang Mo swung the big match without breaking. However, he had only broken 1 flower when the moon was completely covered by dark clouds. "You are all dead." By the time Tang Mo walked up to another flower, it had almost completely bloomed. Only the last layer of petals still firmly covered the stamen. The flower was deep purple and eye-catching. It was clearly toxic to the naked eye. Tang Mo had raised the match and hadn't yet bent down when he saw the enemy's face covered with a faint layer of dark fog. The dark fog seemed to wrap around the man's head. At this time, a strong wind blew up from the ground. The group hadn't responded yet when pale moonlight once again fell to the ground. The smile on the one-armed man's face suddenly froze. He looked up with wide and disbelieving eyes. No. It is impossible. How can it be? Once Tang Mo looked again, the dark fog around the man's head had already dispersed. But the wind had already blown away the dark clouds that covered the moon. Once the moonlight shone on the petals again, the flower petals stopped instantly. Tang Mo spent 2 minutes and destroyed the 2 remaining poisonous flowers. The one-armed man saw this and ran. Then a small nail penetrated his head from behind. The one-armed man's eyes widened as he fell down. The chubby boy spoke in a trembling voice, he is dead. Tang Mo relaxed his grip on the match. Yes, he is dead. No one knew how the dark clouds covering the moon suddenly dispersed. They thought it was just a coincidence. Only Tang Mo knew that he had drawn a circle before the battle. He didn't curse the fire-breathing man or the gunman. Instead, he cursed the one-armed man. The unknown enemy was always more terrifying than the known enemy. Tang Mo prepared a trump card just in case. He wasn't sure if the draw a circle to curse you ability would work or what effect would be achieved. But the result seemed very good. The enemy died and the students instantly relaxed. Chen Shan was still holding the gun despite sitting on the ground. Despite there being no bullets left, she held it tightly like it was a safety device. The students joined forces to move the bodies of the 3 stowaways next to the previous 2 who had died in the toilets. They trampled on the 5 people's faces in hatred before throwing them in the toilet. Teacher Lee's body was moved to the gym corridor with the dead children. The bodies lay quietly on the cold ground. It was unknown who cried first, but sad cries echoed in the gym. Once the crying finished, fear about killing entered their hearts. The little fatty Zhao Xiong had killed the gunman and the one-armed man. His heart had been full of vengeance at the time and he didn't feel that he had killed anyone. Now he ran outside the gym, leaning against a pillar and vomiting. The other children were afraid and gathered together, while Chen Shan gave food and water to everyone. Li Wen walked towards the running track without a word, lost in thought. This might not be the last time you kill someone. An indifferent and calm voice was heard behind the little fatty. The chubby boy had been vomiting. Once he heard the voice, he turned around to look. Tang Mo took a bottle of water and threw it to him in an expressionless manner. His voice was calm as he said, "This world has changed. If you want to live, you have to grow up. Your ability is very useful. It can protect many people and yourself." The chubby boy wiped his mouth. His eyes flashed and his lips trembled. After a long time, he gritted his teeth and said firmly, "I know that if I don't kill them, they will kill me. I know, it is hard to adapt." "Don't worry, you will adapt slowly." Tang Mo said. "Brother Tang Mo, did you feel afraid when you killed a person?" The chubby boy only knew that Tang Mo had killed. He didn't know that Tang Mo had already killed a stowaway. Tang Mo spoke in a quiet voice. "I was a little afraid the first time I killed. But I was more worried about being killed than feeling afraid." The chubby boy nodded in a daze. Tang Mo didn't say anything more. If he had to choose between himself and another person, he wouldn't hesitate to choose the other person's death. After slightly comforting the chubby boy, Tang Mo walked alone to the pond in front of the gym. He reached out and pulled a book out of the air. Tang Mo turned the pages of the book and froze as he saw the first line of the text. Ability, Evil Spirit, Return my grandfather. Owner, Su Jiang, Stowaway, Type, Atomic Function, spits a hot flame from the mouth for 30 seconds at temperatures up to 961 degrees Celsius level. 2 restrictions, the cooldown time is 3 minutes. Before using it, you must place your hands on your hips and yell "Return my grandfather." Note, Su Jiang said that all those who have seen my ability is dead, except for Tang Mo. Tang Mo version usage instructions, can only be used once a day. The maximum temperature is 800 degrees Celsius. Before using, place both hands on the hops and roar "Return my grandfather." I think this ability is very suitable for Tang Mo. This is the power that Tang Mo should have. This spicy chicken ability is very suitable. TL, spicy chicken is slang for trash, contemptible person, etc. Tang Mo, why did he keep being scolded for being a bad man? It also used 2 idioms. Tang Mo's expression changed as he slammed the book shut. He would never use this ability in his life. Absolutely not. Do you want some water? A female voice was heard from behind him. Tang Mo quietly put the book away and turned to look at the little girl. Chen Shan arrived with a bottle of water and a piece of bread. Tang Mo took the bread. "I've already drank water." Chen Shan nodded. The chubby boy had gone back to the gym to rest. Only Tang Mo and Chen Shan remained outside the gym. Chen Shan said, "They are all asleep." Brother Li Wen came back just now. He said he couldn't sleep and planned to look around his alma mater. "I see. This time, I really want to thank you." Tang Mo looked at the short-haired girl. Chen Shan's eyes were resolute and calm. "It isn't just thanks for this. Thank you for remembering my brother's wish and coming to find me. I want to stay with my classmates. We will leave the school and see what the outside world is like." Tang Mo raised an eyebrow at the girl's words. "Do you know that I wanted to take you with me?" "Yes, I guessed it." Chen Shan was expressionless. She was mature like a 44-year-old adult instead of a teenager. "But now that Teacher Li is gone, I don't want to leave them." Tang Mo looked at the little girl in a determined manner. He smiled and didn't say anything more. Tang Mo removed the idea of leaving with the little girl. It wasn't because of the deceased's wish or because he felt sorry for the little girl and wanted to protect her. He just thought this child was too clever and her ability was very strong. Even the ability book commented that collecting Chen Shan's ability would be a big help. She didn't have any strength but she was certainly more useful than Li Wen. In this unknown and dangerous world, Tang Mo really wanted a smart teammate. However, Teacher Li died and Chen Shan seemed determined to stay. Tang Mo felt regret but he didn't try to persuade her. "Can I call you, Brother Tang?" Tang Mo nodded. The little girl laughed. She might look ordinary but she had a dimple when she smiled. You are leaving tomorrow, right? I hope we can meet again later. At that time, I will be stronger. Brother Tang, thank you. Tang Mo was about to open his mouth when a deep and magnetic voice was heard in his mind. Am I bothering you? Tang Mo recognized the voice almost instantly. Chen Shan was very sharp. Brother Tang, is there something wrong? The young girl called him in a familiar manner but she was still a young girl. Such words originally weren't a problem. It was the phrase am I bothering you, that Tang Mo thought was strange. Then the person spoke again. I'm sorry for bothering you. I will call again next time. Tang Mo cried out, it isn't what you think. Chen Shan was confused. Brother Tang. Tang Mo looked calm. You go first. I will look for Li Wen. Chen Shan looked at him suspiciously before seeming to guess something. But she didn't ask again and quickly turned to go into the gym. Tang Mo took out the white turkey egg from his pocket. Sure enough, the egg was shining with a faint light. He frowned with an ugly expression. Fu? Your voice is ringing in my head. This is different from the last time we contacted each other. But I won't mention this matter for the time being. What are you doing? The author has something to say. Tang expressionless face, this cheap book dares to scold me. Abilities book baby, Tang Mo, it is raining. People have umbrellas. Tang Mo cover your head. Major Fu, number just about to prepare when I heard my future wife flirting with someone else. What should I do, number?